Just
moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
alright, let's see if this thing's on. See if I can fuck up another day. Oh yeah, looks like we're doing good. I'm gonna turn myself down now. Alright, let's see if this thing's on. See if I can fuck up another day. Oh yeah, looks like we're doing good. I'm gonna turn myself down. Alright. Well, suppose while we're waiting for boss, we can watch a few things that I found entertaining this week. Well, suppose. Well, let's see here. Where's my playlist? So, watch a few things. I vaguely remember earlier this month we talked a lot about the smirking MAGA kid. This is all over the news. Everyone was talking about it. No one really knew what happened, and I never really found a good video that kind of explained all the ins and outs of it. Well, this YouTube channel, Linwood PC, seems to have a pretty good grasp on things, so we'll go ahead and watch it, and I guess I'll talk to myself about it.
of this land.
Oh, here we go. Let's see if I can actually do what I'm supposed to do. My lord. No. Nope. Boom. There we go. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. No, I don't.
On January 18th, 2019, in Washington,
So
D.C.,
dramatic.
the very first Indigenous Peoples March was scheduled at the same time as the 47th Annual March for Life. Students
If
from
you were born
Kentucky's
here, do you count
all-boy
as native?
Covington Catholic High School were instructed to meet on the stairs of the Lincoln Memorial to await their bus home.
Not a bad place
Many
to
of
meet
the
up.
boys were
Pretty
wearing
safe.
Make America Great
supposedly.
Again hats, which were acceptable attire for the pro-life
Oh, man, I don't
event
know
they
if I
had
have enough
just
tea for
attended.
this show.
A few yards away were 5 black men who identified as Hebrew Israelites. This known
Now these guys are hilarious. I have never seen a video of these guys where they're not calling for systematic violence, where they're calling for people to be killed, speaking out against, you know, gay people. I mean, they're kind of an internet meme at this point. I mean, they're extremists for sure, but definitely a meme.
hate group was already preaching racial slurs at indigenous marchers.
You're not supposed to worship eagles, buffaloes.
That's right,
rams,
right.
all types of animals.
That's right.
This is the reason why the Lord took away your land. Indian means savage. You know where that name came from? You know where that name came from?
Indian means savage. No, Indian doesn't mean savage. They started calling them Indians because they thought they were in India. That's where the name came from. It's called bad cartography, everybody.
It came from the so-called white man. Indian means savage, brother.
I don't know where you got that from.
Look it up, brother.
I did look it up. I'm a historian.
You'll find it out for yourself.
This is the problem, Israel. There's always our women thinking they can come and distract things with their loud ass mouth because they not used to dealing with no real men. You nigga, get your old Uncle Tom ass out of here.
That's the...
Hey guys, let's play all the race cards all at once.
That's right.
That's Uncle Tom's. You're Uncle Tomahawk.
That's right.
Got your head up the white man's ass.
Uncle
Curious,
Tomahawk.
a few of the Covington students moved closer to hear what the Israelites were saying.
Bring y'all crack ass up here and make a statement. Tell them come over here in the lion's den. You little dirty ass crackers, your day coming.
Without incident, the boys returned to their group, which was expanding as more students arrived at their meeting spot. The Israelites did not stop.
On the back of your dollar bill, it says, "In God we trust," but you give faggots rights. The Bible condemns homosexuality, man. They're still humans. This is a bunch of...
What a controversial opinion, calling gay people humans and that they deserve rights.
That's racist, North American, when you get old enough, they're gonna steal your organs.
Whoa, hey, why you being mean? Hey, we love you, kid. Hey, we love you.
He said he's a product of sodomy and he's proud.
It's not rape if you enjoy it.
See that?
He does not get a cookie.
Bunch of Donald Trump incest children.
Donald Trump incest children. That's a
After
that's a
nearly
big,
an hour of enduring the
big
verbal
thing.
attack,
Oh,
the
oh.
boys asked their chaperone if they could perform.
Can you hear me?
Hey, I think I can hear you. Welcome.
All
Hey,
right, perfect.
Let me get you some
The
video.
chant attracted the attention of a group of Native Americans led by veteran activist Nathan Phillips.
Get all set up on my end here.
Though Mr. Phillips later claimed he was trying to get to the Lincoln Monument, he bypassed the most direct and unobstructed pathway and went straight to where the Covington boys were standing.
So we're just kind of. Let me pause this for a second here for you, buddy. So I got bored and I found this video that kind of breaks down the. You remember the smirking MAGA hat kid?
Yes, I do.
Did you ever
very,
see?
very well.
Did you ever see
The
the
full video?
full story on that?
Actually,
Because
I
I
did,
never did.
yeah.
So I found
Really?
it today.
Wait,
yeah,
really?
no, I
You?
never saw
More
the
people?
full thing, like the full breakdown.
never saw the full breakdown.
This video is amazing. It has over 1 million views. So basically, to break it down for you, so these kids met up at the Lincoln Memorial, for a school function.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these 4 black dudes. And have you ever heard of the Black Israelites?
Well, yeah, actually I have.
So it's like these 4 guys are the Black Israelites that are sitting there, and they're basically like, "How dare you give gay people rights? You stupid whitey!" Calling people Uncle Tomahawk and shit. Like it's amazing, the cognitive dissonance coming from their side. So,
Jiminy Christmas.
yeah,
Well,
it's pretty good. So I just got to the part where the Native American group comes in, because they were doing it was like an Indigenous Peoples March or something like that, and this is just like a magic melting pot where they all just kind of converged on the one spot on accident.
They
ew.
began to
Oh,
celebrate
yeah.
by
Accident.
and dancing to the beat.
So good. So good. I got some good little clips today. I figure after this video, if you want to take the stream, you can. Because I can't
like
figure
a
out
good
how to
idea,
put the damn chat on the stream. For some reason, my renderer isn't like wanting to let me pull from applications.
Well, I'll show you. I'll show you a little bit later.
I love how this guy couches this. And snap of the fingers could have caused any sort of violent aggressions. These kids are literally like forming a peace circle.
When I went in front of that mob,
Literally forming a
and put
peace
appeared to
circle.
be their
Oh
prey,
yeah.
all that hate and anger.
All that hate and anger. I don't see any hate and
the
anger, man.
images were the same images that I seen.
Oh, I do like that.
So
Trump
political.
sign. Oh, damn! Everyone's here.
Scowls that they were on the pictures there. That's what
Got
these
that
young
sentry in the
people's faces look like.
house.
It was.
What is up, Sentry? How you doing, my brother?
It was
Oh man.
Just
It was
chilling,
this
man.
moment
Sorry, I
that
got
many
stuck
feel
late
the
at
boys
work.
crossed the line
Oh no,
and
you're
began
good.
walking
We're
toward
starting
the
kind of
Lakers,
early, to be
entering
honest.
the move known to sports fans as the tomahawk.
Appreciate it.
We're all set whenever you guys are.
All right.
Mr. Phillips began moving to his right, down a line of boys, eventually
boy.
stopping face
I
to
love this
face
part.
with Nick Sanders.
He just shows up
The
and
young
he
man
parks his
remained
ass in
where
front
he
of
had
him.
already been
He thinks
standing,
that his group
placing
is gonna
his undivided
like
attention on
save
Mr. Phillips, who
the
never
4
once
guys that
tried
are
to
talking
move
about
beyond him.
committing bloodshed from this group
Knowing
of
that
high
Nick
school
Sandman
kids.
was standing on a higher stair, making
Those
the
damn
Sandman
high
realize
school
how much
kids.
larger
How
than
dare
he
they
really is.
be in a place
We are hearing from a Native American elder
and not say
and
anything?
War veteran speaking to CNN
Oh,
after
this
a
is a
disturbing
great
viral
part.
video
So this
showing
guy,
a group of
he's
teens
been like virtue
harassing
signaling
and
about his
mocking him
Vietnam
in the
War
nation's
status.
capital. The Native elder was
Yeah.
identified as Nathan Phillips, a member
Yep,
of
I heard
the
about that too.
Tomahawk Nation, and as a Vietnam vet, Phillips described
This guy was entirely torn apart.
over and over again online when a young man
So
got
good.
right in his face.
I mop the floors.
That was when they surrounded us, and that's when I realized.
I realized the dangerous situation I was in.
And I couldn't go left. I couldn't go right. We couldn't go back.
Because your own people are hemming you in.
This mob.
The mob is
Well,
behind you
that young
and in
man
front of you.
blocked
They're
my
all
retreat.
fine.
He put himself in front of me, so I stopped and I thought.
He did not
okay,
put himself in front of you.
Just
You
kinda
walked up to
sitting
him.
there.
Another step, he wouldn't move.
You feel you were blocked.
Oh, I was blocked.
But he walked up to him.
Exactly.
Build the wall. Now, this is astounding, given the fact that you, a Native American, and yet they're chanting, build the wall.
It makes little sense to angrily chant build
Actually,
the
they
wall
shouted
to a
build the wall
population
before.
with literally 0 illegal immigrants who were here.
It's not like we aren't all already almost
After
there.
watching every video posted from that day, from every possible angle, I've yet to see or hear one Covington kid utter those words. I did,
Oh,
however,
I gotta send you a
find
link, by the
clip
way,
of Israelites
for
saying this.
something to play in the background of one of our other clips.
All right.
Stand in the damn sun for 5 minutes.
Why you don't build the damn wall?
So if you want to make America great, because for you white people, go back to Europe where you came from. This is not your land.
As one of the native men began to debate with one of the students, keep your eyes on Nick Sandman.
Try to hold your laughter on that
A
one.
moment that was removed from the mainstream.
Oh man, I can't wait. Oh.
I got some warm-up clips for us, if
It
you can't
appears
tell.
as though Nick is trying to hush his schoolmates.
So check this out. So he's actually like trying to be like, "Hey, let's not make a conflict here. Let's calm down." And yet these guys are literally just trying to say, "Oh yeah, your day is gonna come, Whitey."
And the students went on their way.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Don't you just hate it when things are taken out of context and misconstrued like that?
Mr.
Oh yeah.
did not advance up the stairs.
This is my favorite thing, is that he's like, oh yeah, I was here to go to the Lincoln Memorial. Not only did he not take the most direct route, but he didn't even bother to go after the kids wound up getting on their buses.
Even lying about that. Oh, where's my bell? There it is.
Some question about the nature of the military service, and this is a good chance.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Some have said that you were a Vietnam veteran. I don't believe you have said that.
Oh, yes, you did.
Exactly is the nature
AWOL, AWOL, AWOL.
What I've always said is I've never stepped foot in South Vietnam.
I'm a Vietnam vet. You know, I served in the Marine Corps, 72.
Here we go.
76. I don't talk much about
Oh, lovely.
It's always great when they own themselves.
those times.
God.
That's usually all the time.
Good.
Called a baby killer. Little blonde hair.
Just constant ownership.
Oh, Jesus, I know. This is so cringy. Hey, they spit on me. I was a baby killer. I love how his story evolves. Like,
I feel bad because I beat up.
Here we go.
I really do feel bad about that. You know?
I beat up her boyfriend.
She hurt my feelings.
Nobody wants to play with
To be
me.
clear, you did not serve overseas.
I don't know how much clearer can that be?
At one point early on, it was rumored that they were chanting "Build the Wall," but no one has surfaced any evidence of that whatsoever.
Yeah,
that's what I heard from the Native American elder when he was talking about it in a video. He said,
I heard them saying, build that wall, build that wall.
It isn't audible on the video clips, I think, that are out there, but did you hear that?
I did hear that.
I heard that
You can hear it.
because I have a vivid imagination.
It absolutely occurred, I tell you.
Adults were saying things like, "This is."
Oh,
the
here we
face
go. The
of
woman
white
that
patriarchy,"
cheered
the
after.
16-year-old
Oh
kid.
God, just
Reza
this bad.
Aslan said.
Yeah, or
This
Reza
is
Aslan
awful.
said, "Have you ever seen a more punchable face?"
Ah.
Kathy Griffin
Can't believe
was
she
saying,
got into
"I
office.
need names."
I mean, I can.
Shame
Of
him,
course.
dox him. How do
All right,
people
so-
not understand the implications?
How
of
much
that?
longer we got to go on this one? Is I'm all set.
Oh no, we good, we good. I just like the breakdown on that one. Alright, so you've got the background clip for that. Well, yeah. You want to switch over and take over the stream? I'll go ahead and kill my OBS.
Alright, just let me know when you're done and I'll start.
Alright, I'm clicking the stop streaming button.
And now
Baller.
we're good to go, ladies and gentlemen. We are good to go. We're very, very good to go.
Alright, let me pull up my my show notes here. Come on, come on. What the fuck? No. No. I want my playlist.
Your playlist? Your playlist? You come into here, you come into my home, and you ask for your playlist?
I wasn't sure how long it would take for you guys to get here, so I got a couple more funny clips. This next one, so I was looking for the promo image, you know, the one that I sent you earlier. And when I was looking for that, ironically enough, I found out about some news by looking at Google Images.
Some news?
Yeah, dude, I saw this picture of this Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un impersonator, and they got kicked out of out of Vietnam. So I figured,
Oh yeah, they got too close for that.
Yeah, so France 24 reported on it. I think it's like the only outlet that did. But man, these guys look good, dude.
Brutals. All right, well, if you're ready to start, I'm ready to start.
Go for it, my guy.
All right. All quiet on the Western Front, please. And howdy there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sublime News. I'm General Tweed. We've got Solid MAGA with us, and we also have... Oh crap, what was his name?
It's the Sentry.
We have Sentry with us too, I believe. Not easily jumping in and out, of course. Of course.
I'm here.
Hopefully,
Oh shit, he's alive.
oh, he's alive. There he is. Perfecto mundo. We've got a fully stacked show for y'all tonight.
I'm excited for it.
I am too.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah, man. There's been
We got a lot
so
of
much
stuff
stuff going on this past. We've been gone for 2 weeks. 2
We got
weeks.
some funny clips to lead with. I've got some stuff about the Korean summit. We're going to be talking a little bit about Pakistan and India. There's also, what else have I got here? Let me take a look at my list. Some China trade talk. We're also going to be talking about Benjamin Netanyahu today.
Oh.
There's been kind of a bit of an issue with him that we've been following here and there. We're going to dip back into the past and watch some old clips on him, and then we're going to catch up with what's going on currently, because he could be in a lot of trouble. We haven't really paid much attention to South America, so we're going to give Venezuela and their crisis some love today.
And then finally.
We'll come right on back home. Not so much about Saudi Arabia. Haven't had much movement on that. And let me tell you, the news clip about Saudi Arabia using German-made weapons in the Yemen war, it was really boring, dude. It was really, really boring. I mean, it's interesting because they keep, Germany keeps claiming, "Oh, no, we don't let them use the weapons," but they keep getting found on the battlefield. So their criticism of the U.S. is ringing a bit hollow.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, we starting with this Nick Sandman clip, or are we going on to the next one?
Let's just go ahead on to clip number 2. I was just kind of using that to fill some time before you guys showed up.
All right, well, thank you for doing that. Then let's jump right in. Do you want to set us up with this one, or do you think it'll speak for itself?
Honestly, I think we should just jump into this. This is the most hilarious clip I think. Well, actually, I take it back. The next clip is the most hilarious clip I found all week. But this one, pretty freaking good.
All right, then on the way we go.
Here we go.
All right, we've reconnected. Sorry about that, you guys. OBS decided to crash for some reason. Not sure why. Anyway.
Hey, works for me.
Yeah, it's all good. We're back. All right.
Background is appropriate.
On to the clip.
Do I sound like a robot to you guys?
No, you sound
like
perfect.
Not a robot.
Sound like the perfect humanoid being.
Oh, yeah.
All right, on to the clip.
Well, thank you.
Deported for impersonating Kim Jong-un. Comedian Howard X checked out of his Hanoi hotel on Monday after Vietnamese authorities allegedly revoked his visa.
Perfectly. The visa that I got from my travel agency was invalid. They grabbed the person who issued the visa letter.
Spot on. I don't even know where you buy a dictatorship.
Howard X teamed up with comedian Russell White, a Donald Trump lookalike, for the media stunt.
That's a lookalike?
I think satire is a powerful weapon against any dictatorship. So, they are scared of, a couple of guys that look like.
Kinda. I mean, it's mostly because he's orange.
I suppose so.
This is what I
He's gonna have
the two comedians had been questioned by police on Friday after staging a fake summit in the Capitol, drawing crowds and media.
Why would you fault the guy for doing something funny?
Authorities told him not to create any disturbances as the city prepares to host Kim and Trump on Wednesday and Thursday for their second nuclear summit. It's not Howard X's first gig. He also staged his stunt for the two leaders' first summit in Singapore last June. White has been allowed to stay in Vietnam, but has been reportedly barred from public appearances.
Oh boy, that sucks for him, don't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
You're right, dude,
but,
that was pretty fucking hilarious.
It's pretty good, right? Hey, you got the, do you have our special audio queued up for the next clip?
I'm in the process of doing so, and yes, I do. Yes, I do.
This is a wonderful clip. I think it was the highlight.
You're roboing out there, my brother.
But
still roboing out. Well, I think it's probably my connection or something, but. We got a Russian cargo ship. No, I think it's all you guys. Yeah, anyway, we got a Russian cargo ship crashing into a bridge. So, let's see how that's going.
Oh, no. No.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, God, yes!
The cars are like, oh my God!
Oh, what? Oh, no. Oh, should we stop? Should we keep going? Should we try to make it?
Like, zoom past! Fuck that boat!
I can make it. I've made it past worse. Alright, that's enough of that commie music. My god, that was brilliant. Oh, okay, yeah, you guys are really, really... There we go. There we go. Now he's back.
Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. It's just solid MAGA there.
Right.
There he is. Now he's back.
There we go. I had to fix my shit.
You missed the whole thing.
Yeah, suka, bleh. That man had too much vodka in his blood.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
You like my my musical choice for that one?
It was absolutely perfect. It was grand.
Yeah, no, that was perfect, dude. I was like, hell.
Oh, all right. So, set us up for our next clip.
There's this viral challenge going on across the internet because this faith healer decided to fake a resurrection in South Africa. Pretty short clip. Speaks for itself.
We're reporting on a meme?
Watch it.
All right, let's see it. Let's laugh.
Hashtag resurrection challenge. Feel him up. Feel him up. Oh, he feels awkward. He's coming back to life. Don't touch my dick.
Right,
the hashtag resurrection challenge. Oh my gosh. Oh. What the? South Africa can meme.
This is great. They do it better than the left.
Oh my god, South Africa can meme so hard.
Dude, haven't you ever seen the Poo Africa?
I've never paid attention to South African memes. I guess I'm just not exposed to them. Oh my god, that's perfect.
So good.
That was perfect. Welcome to the resurrection.
This is what happens when you guys leave me alone and tell me to find stuff to fill time. Sorry.
You certainly do a good job, Adam, my friend.
All right, so getting on to more serious news. This last week has been kind of a huge news week as far as international news and domestic news goes. We had that huge North Korea summit, and we're going to try to get on into it. Let's see here. Our first clip is going to be, I believe this is from before the summit actually happened. It's kind of like talking a little bit about South Korea's position on the summit. And once we get done with that, we'll see why Donald Trump decided not to sign a deal.
All right. Right on in we go.
The summit tomorrow closely watched in Seoul, South Korea. Koreans throughout the entire peninsula watching to see how Chairman Kim reacts to President Trump and what they're able to get done. Greg Palcott has that part of the story. He's live in Seoul, South Korea. And Greg, what reaction are you getting from there tonight? Good evening.
Good evening, Bill. As you can imagine, all eyes here are on the Trump-Kim summit. After Singapore, the folks here in Seoul are hoping for a bit more substance. There's a lot at stake here. Now, with President Trump in Hanoi, they're waiting to see if he will deliver in one of his big bargaining chips a declaration of the end of the Korean War. You'll recall that fighting stopped here some 65 years ago only with an armistice. He might come through with that. And also waiting to see what North Korean leader Kim Jong-un might give back in return. There is talk that he could agree to shutting down his main nuclear processing center in the north. That could lower the temperatures a bit.
Well,
but in fact,
sure those aren't mannequins.
Not everybody's happy. There was a small protest in front of the U.S. Embassy. People concerned that North Korea's human rights abuses are not being addressed at this summit, just as they were not addressed in Singapore. The reports are, Bill, that something like 120,000 people are in political gulags in North Korea.
Oh, boy.
A lot of gulags. You spoke with a lot of people there, Greg, including someone who's got a special interest in what happens at the summit and the outcome. What did you hear?
Absolutely. The man I talked to is a former Republican congressman from California. His name is Jay Kim. He was born in Seoul in 1939, so he lived through World War II. He lived through the Korean War before coming to the U.S. and becoming the first Korean American in the House of Representatives. Here is what he thinks about a possible declaration at the end of the Korean War.
I like the way this guy talks.
symbolically important. Really, the war has been ended. I mean, nobody's attacking.
Were you guys listening to any like news or anything?
Other than
summit?
that, I think it's
Some,
not.
yeah.
So I was listening.
Anyway.
My boss, he plays NPR sometimes. I was listening to NPR absentmindedly, and then they started talking about the North
we
Korea
would
summit.
feel better,
I was paying
feel
attention.
safer, in fact, if
My
that
apologies.
declaration was made. I think a lot of people would agree with that. President Trump, he gives a lot of credit to, but a lot of people here in South Korea understand it could
NPR
go
was
either
basically
way
trying
in
to
the
make
next
the
couple of
case that
days.
it would be
Dicey times. Back to you.
illegal for Donald Trump to
Indeed,
end the Korean
1953,
War.
Greg, and still counting. Thank you, sir.
How could they
And
possibly
Seoul,
make
South
it
Korea is
ending a war illegal? Like how? How?
Because they
How does
are
that
the worst.
become illegal?
Dude, if you're the worst, then obviously that's illegal.
Oh, right. I forgot how the rules on that worked.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't, basically anything he wants to do that's positive, they don't want to give him credit for it. So,
You didn't earn that.
all right. So let's see what Donald Trump has to say about why he didn't want to sign the deal. I mean, there was a lot on the table. North Korea was talking about dismantling one of their plutonium and uranium refining facilities where they make weapons grade plutonium and uranium. But it seems like the cost for getting rid of those facilities was a little too high in his opinion.
Got to get rid of those enrichment centers. Anyway, here we go.
All right, as we can continue our coverage live, we're in Vietnam, where earlier today the president wrapped up his summit, his second summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Following the summit, we exclusively had the opportunity to speak with the president before he departed Vietnam. Here's part one of that interview. Mr. President, great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Summit number 2, when I heard Kim Jong-un say, was asked the question, are you ready to denuclearize? His answer was, I wouldn't be here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And then he goes on, and you said that might be the best answer you've ever heard.
Well, and we're working towards something, but we didn't sign anything today. It didn't quite work out. I would say that I wasn't satisfied, and perhaps he wasn't satisfied. Good relationship, but I decided that this wasn't the right time to sign something. So we'll see what happens over a period of time.
It's funny, it came up on the radio show. We've known each other well over 2 decades.
Yeah.
The Art of the Deal. One of the key components in the book is you say you've always got to be able to walk up to the last second.
Yeah. You always
Reagan,
have to be able to-
Reykjavik.
Well, whether it's
Gotta
Reagan,
be able to
whether
walk,
it's
man.
anybody, I mean, you have to be
Have
prepared
you noticed
to walk.
something
and
about
this
this
just
clip?
wouldn't have been good for our country. And frankly,
Coming up,
he
President
can
Trump
look
on
at
the
it same
Cohen
way.
hearing thing.
Maybe he can look at it the same
No,
way.
no.
But we get along really well. He's
Next
a
time you're
different
looking
kind
at
of a
Hannity,
guy,
pause it.
and I just said, look, this isn't going to be working. So I have a feeling something down the line will happen, and it'll happen. It'll be good. But
And
this
that
just
was
wasn't
your
good.
choice. You said this isn't
Well,
the deal.
let's go with both. Let's go with both. I don't want to
Talking
say
about
it was my
that
choice.
CIA
It's
lapel
something that
pin.
He wanted
Oh,
to do,
just
and
give
I
it a
didn't want to
second.
do it, and I
Pause
just
it
don't
when you
think
see
it would have
Hannity,
been good.
because,
Maybe for either of
things
us,
have
but
changed, my friend.
we'll get
Things have
something worked out
changed.
eventually.
Can you give us any insight into...
Look at that lapel. Where's that CIA pin?
Huh.
Huh.
What happened there? That's
Where maybe
pretty
the
odd.
what
Kind of
was...
is, quite honest.
Looks like a
Well,
thin
they
blue
wanted
line.
to denuke certain
It looks like a
areas,
thin blue line
and
pin,
I
but it's got
wanted
like
everything.
a insignia on it.
And the
Some kind of
sanctions
crest.
are there, and I didn't
Some
want to
kind
give
of-
up the sanctions unless we had a real program. And
Finally got myself a
they're
new
not
set
ready
of
for that, and I
headphones, by the
understand
way,
that
so
fully.
I
I
don't have
really
any
do. I mean, they
crosstalk.
spent a lot of
Oh,
time
lovely.
building it, and that doesn't mean the world has to be happy. But I wanted them to denuke, and they wouldn't.
I love that he just
do
says
the full.
denuke,
They
not
wanted to do
denuclearize.
some, and I guess a lot of people would have said that's a great start, but I just didn't feel it was right.
Let me
save on
ask you
syllables.
about... Last night you said... He said something at dinner, and I won't say it, I'll let him say it. Can you bring us into that dinner?
Well, no, I just think he's, first of all, he's a character.
He was laughing a
and
lot.
he's a real personality, and he's very smart. He's sharp as you can be, and he's a real leader, and he's pretty mercurial. I don't say that necessarily in a bad way, but he's a pretty mercurial guy. But he was talking to the press a little bit, and, he's not big into talking to the press, but the press came in. Look, bottom line, I think he wants to get something done, but this wasn't the right time. And Vietnam, Hanoi, where we are right now, they have treated us so fantastically, so good. They've done such a great job. They're very proud of the job they've done, and they've really treated us. I mean, it's been an incredible 2.5 days.
You kept saying, and managing expectations, you said, I'm in no rush. I want the right deal. And the right deal for you is complete denuclearization that is verified and on-site inspections on demand.
It's a much tougher deal to make. Maybe it won't get made, but
It's
that's
really
the deal that we
important.
should have. And you can't give up everything if you don't get that. Now, we could have done large portions, but you're not getting that. So we'll see what happens. Again, the relationship is very good. He likes me. I like him. Some people say, oh, you
My
shouldn't like him. I
apologies.
said, why
I love
shouldn't
my
I like him? I
clickety-clack.
like him.
Can
Get
you tell
along
me my
great.
keyboard again?
We'll see what happens.
Let me ask you about,
Cherry Reds?
Let's go back to Singapore.
No, I got
An
a
opportunity
$10
to see
Logitech.
And hostages were released. Remains have come home.
I'd buy it just for
And
the sound.
interesting and most profound part of it was
love it.
that no rockets have been fired over Japan.
That's
Guam's
right.
not threatened.
That's right.
And the continental United States was being threatened. Progress in that area?
A lot of progress.
All right,
and
so
it's
despite
lot of
not
progress,
having a
not
deal,
necessarily
looks like
on
everything's
paper,
going
although we
pretty
also
good,
signed a very good agreement.
I would say.
It said no denuclearization. You know, we're going to have that. We are going to have a complete denuke. I call it denuking,
I
but
think
it's
so. I think it was a good time for him to
denuclearization.
walk away, to be honest.
It was,
Of course,
a
can't
document
expect these
that was
things to come
signed, and it was a
that
very good
quickly. I mean,
document. The
We've
fact
been-
is that he also said
You're going to
he's
see
not going to
later
do testing, and he said that
there's some words
recently.
from the Japanese Prime
And he said it
Minister
again
that
to
kind
me
of
just
backs
a
up
little
what we're
while
saying
ago. He
right
doesn't
now,
want to do
is that
testing.
you
He's not going to
cannot
do that. That's a big thing.
cave
No
to them.
rockets,
Like,
no
you have to
anything.
stick with your
And
stance.
I believe,
His
you know, when
stance
he
has
tells
always
me
been,
that, I
we're
will
not
take him
relieving
at
any
his word.
sanctions until you do.
But we'll see how it all goes. I think
Basically,
we had a very good
the way you
2
got to do
days,
it, man.
But
Especially
I
with these
just don't think
people who've
maybe
been
either of us
in their
were
track
ready.
record. All right. Let's see what's up next.
Well, let me take a look at my list here. Woo-wee. All right. There's a rebuttal from North Korea. I thought since, this is such a big deal, we should kind of look at it from all angles. This is one of our biggest stories today. So go ahead on to clip number 7, I think it is. North Korea says it asks the U.S. for partial relief of sanctions. This is their rebuttal. And, it's not a very good one.
Not a very good rebuttal.
I don't think so, personally. But you know me. I'm biased and shit.
Let's find out.
North Korea's foreign minister held a press conference in Hanoi last night to explain why the summit fell through. Oh Jung-hee zooms in on their side of the story to find out what seems to have been the main sticking point.
Kind of think this guy's
high-ranking
putting on a
North
fake
Korean
voice.
diplomats held a rare press conference on Thursday night to explain their side of the story after U.S. President Donald Trump pinned the blame on North Korea for the failed summit earlier in the day. North Korea's Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho explained Pyongyang asked for a partial lifting of sanctions, not all of them as Trump had claimed.
Partial.
There are 11 UN sanctions resolutions imposed on North Korea, and we proposed to the U.S. to lift certain articles, and 5 of them, adopted from 2016 to 2017, that affect the civilian economy and our people's livelihoods.
Ri highlighted that the North
Yeah, I
was willing
can
to
see why
permanently
Trump
and
wouldn't want to do
completely
that.
dismantle its
Yep.
Yongbyon nuclear complex,
You can't let
including
them have
plutonium
a
and
source
uranium
of money
production facilities,
and
with U.S.
when
experts
they're
and
not
North
willing to
Korean
actually get
technicians
rid of the
working
missiles.
together. But
The U.S. insisted that we should take one more step,
He
and it
offered
became
them
clear
the
that the
fucking
U.S. was
world
not
on a
ready to
silver
accept our
fucking
proposal.
platter, and if he
Can't
doesn't
say at this
fucking want
stage
it
whether
exactly
there can be
how
a better
Trump says,
agreement
then
than
he
the
can
one
get
we
the fuck.
proposed. It
Yeah,
may be
exactly.
difficult for an
Basically.
opportunity like this to come again.
Pyongyang's Vice Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee added to Ri's remarks, saying Kim Jong-un appeared to struggle in understanding the U.S. position and could have lost his will to negotiate with Washington. While top North Korean diplomats were speaking to the international press in Hanoi, back home, the regime's state-run Korean Central News Agency released a rather plain and simple coverage of the summit on Friday. The report had a warm tone, but it didn't provide specific details as to why the summit ended without an agreement. Watchers say the regime is leaving the door open for future talks with the U.S. to ultimately have sanctions lifted. It's becoming apparent that sanctions are taking a serious toll on the regime, which remains the centerpiece of Washington's maximum pressure campaign. With President Trump's first term to end in 2020, pundits say, time is running out for North Korea, which aims to wrap up its 5-year economic development plan by 2020 as well. 오정희, 아리랑 뉴스.
아리랑 뉴스.
The nuclear plan's gonna fail, buddy.
So, North Korea, not satisfied. A little bit of crosstalk back and forth. Sounds to me like the kindergarten version of Big Red Button.
Maybe. I don't know if they're having to come back and say that all we asked for was this, not a complete removal of the sanctions or anything like that. It kind of sounds to me like they're trying to bargain, not just within the international press, but like to try to bargain with Trump himself, trying to say, "Hey, wait, no, come back to the table."
Yep, kind of. Also, one of the things that they're really hitting at here, and a lot of people don't realize, is that these sanctions are all about their civilian industry. So yeah, it is totally hurting the civilian population, but it's as a result of the actions that the government has taken.
Absolutely.
So when you look at all this, basically what they're saying is, we have no money. We need money. Let us get money. And and Donald Trump is like,
money.
Show me you mean business first.
Basically.
All right. So I mentioned it earlier. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look at Japan's reaction to the summit. Shinzo Abe was called immediately after the summit by Donald Trump of his decision. Yeet.
Now we're going to continue our post-summit coverage because the sudden end of the meeting on Thursday in Hanoi reverberated around the world. Key regional players who have a big say on what happens here on the Korean Peninsula, namely Japan and China, were quick to respond in different ways, as you'd imagine.
That's our humor.
The second Kim-Trump summit came to an abrupt end without an agreement and/or a joint declaration, as both sides were unable to overcome their differences.
Look at that pink tie.
Right after the summit wrapped, President Trump phoned Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
He never wears a tie like that.
According to Japan's Kyodo news agency, Abe was briefed about the summit by President Trump. Abe told reporters that Tokyo is fully supportive of President Trump's determination to continue concrete discussions and to not make any concessions under a strong resolution to achieve the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Abe added that in regards to the abduction of Japanese by North Korea in the 1970s and 80s, Trump said he delivered his thoughts to Kim Jong-un during their one-on-one talks. Abe has repeatedly said he's determined to hold his own summit with the North Korean leader. As for China, its foreign minister Wang Yi said although there was no agreement during the Hanoi summit, it's important for both countries to continue talking. According to China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Wang Yi met with North Korea's Vice Minister Lee Gil-sung on Thursday for the 70th anniversary of North Korea-China diplomatic ties. He said the Hanoi summit received global attention and the negotiations had gone a long way to overcome issues between the old adversaries. But he emphasized that the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and building a peace regime is necessary. 서보빈, 아리랑 뉴스.
I really like Arirang News. They really they always have like such concise, easy to follow clips. I love it.
Straight to the point.
So basically what we're saying is that the US's allies are approving of their position and the people who are in opposition are still in opposition. North Koreans didn't get anything because they kind of lowballed Trump, and Trump doesn't deal with lowballers. So, to be continued, I guess, gentlemen.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Oh, you know what? I actually have one of these clips out of order. You want to play clip number 10 before you play number 9?
Sounds good. Let's.
All right. So clip number 10 is actually kind of shocking because Schumer and Pelosi agreed with Donald Trump.
Are you being serious? You're being serious? You're not BSing right now?
Roll the clip.
This is a Fox News Alert. Good evening, good morning here in Vietnam. I'm Brett Baer. We are again coming to you halfway around the world in Hanoi, Vietnam, where the second summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ended in a very different fashion than the first, without an agreement this time. President Trump says he was not willing to give in to North Korea's demand that the U.S. lift all sanctions without an ironclad promise from Kim to eliminate its nuclear arsenal. The North Koreans held an extremely rare press conference a few hours ago to say they only wanted some of the sanctions lifted to get rid of its biggest nuclear site.
Just a few.
The two leaders canceled a scheduled lunch and signing ceremony today. Back home, both Democrats and Republicans were giving the president varying degrees of credit for not giving in. But in South Korea's capital, the collapse of the talks was viewed with real disappointment. We have Fox team coverage. Greg Palcott is in Seoul, South Korea, where the country's news agency says the security situation has now turned back to zero. From the Trump administration, resolve about this decision and perhaps optimism about the future, even without another meeting set up on the calendar. We start off here in Hanoi with Chief White House correspondent John Roberts. Hello, John.
Brett, good morning to you. We are now in a game of dueling diplomatic narratives, with both sides blaming the other for the failure of the second U.S.-North Korea summit, and President Trump getting some support from an unlikely corner.
No, guys, it was my fault.
The body language
totally
between
my
President
fault.
Trump and Kim Jong-un looked promising. But when it came down to the nuts and bolts of negotiation, President Trump walked away from the table.
I could have signed an agreement today.
Very good.
And then you people would have said, oh, what a terrible deal, what a terrible thing he did.
I mean, the guy probably didn't get out much.
Kim Jong-un offered to close the sprawling Yongbyon nuclear facility.
He's actually doing
the prime
a
source of
two-day,
fissile material for North Korea's nuclear weapons program.
Right
but in exchange, according to President Trump, he wanted all of the sanctions against the regime lifted.
The Yongbyon facility and all of its scope, which is important for sure, still leaves missiles, still leaves warheads and weapon systems.
They were willing to denuke a large portion of the areas that we wanted, but we couldn't give up all of the sanctions for that.
At a rare midnight press conference in Hanoi, North Korea's foreign minister disputed the president's claim, insisting Kim made a realistic proposal.
What we proposed was not the removal of all sanctions, but their partial removal.
Oh God, he's using the art of the deal against him.
That we should take one more step, besides the dismantlement of nuclear facilities in Yongbyon area.
Can you imagine how stressful it must be to be a North Korean translator?
When I first read your book, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Moment of agreement with the president, the Democratic leadership said he was right to walk away. Chuck Schumer tweeted, a deal that fell short of complete denuclearization would have only made North Korea stronger and the world less safe. And this from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Whoa, they're agreeing.
It's good that the president
dude.
did not give him anything for the little that he was proposing.
It would typically be unheard of for an American president to travel halfway around the world to make a deal, then have it fall apart. But there is no playbook for a leader-to-leader engagement with North Korea.
I think everyone had hoped we could
We're
do
in
this a little bit better.
uncharted territory right
but
now, my friend.
the departure was
down the hatches.
we would continue to work on what has been an incredibly difficult problem.
What comes next is unclear. President Trump says the summit came to a premature close on friendly terms.
This wasn't a walk away like you get up and walk out. No, this was very friendly. We shook hands.
The president continued his praise of Kim Jong-un and at one point appeared to absolve him of any complicity in the death of Otto Warmbier.
I don't believe he knew about it. I did speak to him. He felt very badly, but he knew the case very well. But he knew it later.
But even lawmakers who backed the president's decision to walk away from the table found that one hard to swallow.
That'd be a lie. Kim Jong lied. I mean, he had to know. Nothing happens in that country without him knowing.
All right, go ahead.
He did have to know that.
Both sides
Kill
are
that right there on that note. So that's absolutely absurd. How the hell can you expect a world leader to actually know everything that's going on in their country? I mean, Macron won't even let them report about the Yellow Jackets in France.
Yep.
Week 15, by the way, on that shit.
Still.
France 24 hasn't done a news story on it in almost a month.
Oh, boy.
Believe me, I looked. All right, so Sentry, I went and I got a video from your guy that reports on China. It's pretty decent. Good. And it's kind of related to what we've been talking about with all these, trade deals and, summits and all that kind of crap. So I thought maybe we would take a, brief interlude and watch this video and kind of laugh at it together, and then we can get into this Pakistani-Indian conflict.
Right. Jumping right on it.
Word.
Markets are surging. Optimism is in the air. Trump said he'll delay launching new tariffs on China, and that a trade deal could be close. But will
God, we got to get the guy that does this guy's music.
Promises?
It reminds me of
Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Optimism is in the air.
Beard's gotten thicker.
On Sunday, President Donald Trump made an announcement that could start to scale back the U.S.-China trade war. Trump said, tweeted, "I will be delaying the U.S. increase in tariffs, now scheduled for March 1st. Back in early December, Trump gave China 90 days to make concessions on issues like unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. And if no deal could be reached, the U.S. would hit China with a new round of tariffs. Those tariffs would affect $200 billion of Chinese goods. The tariffs are currently at 10%, but would go up to 25% if no deal is reached by March 1st. Except now, Trump has extended that deadline, adding that, assuming both sides make additional progress, we will be planning a summit for President Xi and myself at Mar-a-Lago to conclude an agreement. So they're heading to Trump's Gulf estate in Florida. I mean, any excuse to get out of Washington. Or maybe it's because Florida is the best place for Xi Jinping to experience American culture. I would know. I was in Florida 2 years ago for the last meeting. Or maybe Trump just extended the trade agreement deadline while he's meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un this week. After all, the Chinese regime wouldn't want to risk the trade agreement by interfering with that. Regardless, Xi Jinping is extremely happy that Trump has agreed to extend the trade talks. I believe we have footage of his reaction. And the stock market was happy too. The Dow Jones ticked higher. And former Commerce Secretary Carlos Gutierrez struck a guardedly optimistic note.
Look, I hope this is for real. I mean, the marketplace needs it. The world economy needs it. I can't think of a better piece of news for 2019 than that the U.S.-China trade war is beginning to tone down.
Even legendary investor Warren Buffett skipped his usual Dairy Queen breakfast to hop over to CNBC studios and weigh in on the news.
Negotiations are tough in something like this. This is a big deal to both countries, and to some extent you're playing a game of chicken.
No idea who was the first to blink, though, since neither Washington nor Beijing provided specific details on who made what concessions. On Friday, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who's sitting right here, explained that, well, it's complicated.
Oh man, I love it.
There's hundreds of issues that we're dealing with. Everything from financial services
I love
to
that they don't show his face.
Technology transfer to aircraft to express shipping to different industries.
Probably didn't have a camera on the other end.
We don't have any details yet on every single one of those hundreds of issues. But according to this Bloomberg report, Chinese officials said they would buy an additional $30 billion a year of U.S. agricultural products, including soybeans, corn, and wheat. Now, according to
Don't forget about the rice.
Those extra purchases would be on top of pre-trade war levels. In 2017, before the trade war,
you heard about the problems they have in China with plastic rice?
$24.2 billion in American agricultural products. Last year, when the trade war started, that slumped to $16 billion.
Some Chinese rice companies are putting fake plastic rice in the real stuff.
It means China
cutting their rice
more than twice as much in agricultural products as before the trade war started. That's absolutely huge.
It's a problem.
Hugely doubtful.
All right, I think we should cut this guy.
Contributor Kenneth Raposa put it, there is no way China is importing $30 billion more in U.S. farm goods.
Oh, yes,
that is unless one of two things happen. One, China plans to ram food down the throats of its citizens. Or two, China plans to build more silos to store grain, which is already rotting in Chinese silos. In other words, there is simply not enough market demand in China for all that extra food. Get ready, kids. We're going to do some math. This table shows China's agricultural imports from the U.S.
I'm actually kind of curious
The biggest
about this.
U.S. import is oilseed
keep going?
crops, which is mostly
actually,
soybeans.
I'm kind of curious.
In 2017, China imported $13 billion worth from the U.S. So to make good on its promise to import $30 billion more, Chinese leaders would have to, say, force people to start eating 4 times as much American tofu, or wear 25 times as much animal hide, or some weird vegan carnivore combo of the two. But fundamentally, the problem is that there's not enough demand in the Chinese market for $30 billion more in U.S. agricultural products. So the only way for this to work is for China's central government to step in and control the market, which is the very type of economic interference that the U.S. is trying to get them to stop. Of course, there's a third option. Make a promise and then break it. According to economist Arlan Suderman, China will say what needs to be said to get a deal, suggesting that Chinese leaders will promise anything, no matter how unrealistic, just to buy a bit of time with no intention of actually following through. Already there's signs the Chinese side might not follow through on its end of whatever bargain gets made. On Monday, Chinese state-run media Xinhua suggested they might go back on the deal, saying that the emergence of new uncertainty cannot be ruled out. Uncertainty like Xi Jinping had his fingers crossed behind his back the whole time. Maybe that's why, according to multiple insiders, one of the key sticking points in the trade talks is a mechanism to force Chinese authorities to keep their word. Both Reuters and Associated Press reported that American officials have been pressing hard for a strong enforcement mechanism with penalties if the Chinese regime fails to keep its promises. I'm imagining the penalties will be things like China is grounded from trading for a month, or they're no longer allowed to go to trade prom. Okay, it'll actually be something like the U.S. will resume tariffs.
There's really a trade
I
problem?
don't think the Chinese side is going to be too enthusiastic about that one. That may be what U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer was referring to when he told reporters at the White House that we have a few very, very big hurdles that we still have to face before the deal is sealed. After all, it wouldn't exactly be the first time the Chinese regime has overpromised and underdelivered. Look no further than all the promises they made when they joined the World Trade Organization in 2001. They're still not living up to their commitments, like respecting intellectual property, ending state subsidies in key exports, and opening up their markets fairly to foreign companies. So when you're dealing with a regime that's broken commitments on trade again and again for nearly 2 decades, do you really expect them to suddenly change? Perhaps that's why, after striking an optimistic note with Sunday's tweets, Trump sounded a bit more guarded on Monday when talking about signing the trade deal.
Well, that could happen.
And he is kind of being
or
a little,
might not happen at all. Okay, might
like
not happen at all, but I think it's going to
about his
happen,
trade deal
and it
shit.
could happen fairly soon.
So what do you think of the trade deal? Will the Chinese regime keep its word? Leave your comments below. And while you're still here, it's time for me to answer another question from a fan who supports China censored with $1.
All right.
We got to send that guy some money.
So we don't have a Patreon account with you, so we're going to ignore the Q&A.
We got to send this guy some money.
I know, right? His stuff's great. I love him.
Thank you for letting us use your stuff. Please don't take us off the air.
China Uncensored. Fantastic channel.
Very, very great guy.
Well.
If you subscribe to us, go subscribe to him. It's great. All right, what's next on our plate?
Well, there was kind of a bit of a kerfuffle between Pakistan and India. I don't know if you're aware, but they had a war in the 70s, so they've not seen eye to eye ever since. Well, apparently, Pakistan is accusing India of doing airstrikes across their border, and so they shot down an Indian fighter pilot last week.
Ooh, I heard about that.
And it's been a developing story all week. So I got the story from before, and I've got the story from after. So we have a full beginning and end to this one.
Lovely. I like good stories. Let's see.
Yeah.
What more can you tell us about these latest developments?
Yes, nodding head.
Well,
waiting for the
first
signal.
of all, let's remind our audiences that this is the first time since the war with Pakistan in 1971 that India has crossed over into Pakistani territory to conduct airstrikes. Usually skirmishes around the line of control, which is the de facto border for Pakistan and India, is not uncommon, but strikes of this nature are extremely rare. As you heard the Foreign Secretary over there, he did say it was a preemptive strike, and he did say that these militants from the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which is the group that claimed the attack that took place earlier this month in Kashmir, that they were planning other attacks on Indian territory, and Indians are claiming that 300 odd militants were killed in this attack. Pakistan, on the other hand, is downplaying this attack. They're saying that there was no damage from these airstrikes, there were no casualties. In fact, the Pakistani army spokesman said earlier today on Twitter that the Indian jets had to scramble hastily and leave hastily after dropping their payload because Pakistani jets were gathering. So we're getting conflicting narratives of what really went on over there. This is not uncommon. This has happened before in 2016 after India launched a so-called surgical strike just across the border after one of their army camps was attacked by militants. So these kinds of conflicting narratives are common from India and Pakistan. It shows that both the countries want to come out on top.
Shreya, now this is just, of course, the latest twist in a very tumultuous and long history between India and Pakistan. Give us a bit more context here.
Yeah, so this is not the first time that tensions tensions are always brewing between the two neighbors rather. And the last time there was a full-scale war was in 1999 in Kargil, and since then we haven't really seen a full-blown war.
All right. So basically, what happened? They kept him a prisoner, and then they decided, as a gesture, to give him back. So we'll go ahead and play this clip. I think his for being in the military, his damn facial hair is like the most amazing thing I think I've ever seen.
I cannot wait. Let's see this.
Hello, Pakistan has released the Indian pilot it took captive in what it's calling a gesture of peace.
Weirdest
Wing
beard
Commander
I think I've ever seen.
Abhinandan Vardhaman walked back across the Atari border after being shot down on Wednesday.
Oh my God!
Disputed Kashmir region.
It's like the super
Pakistani
handlebar.
officials say they handed him over to India in a bid to ease the tensions between the two.
I now know what my life's purpose is.
All of you, all of us, all Indians are happy to have him back.
I have to make my mustache look like that mustache.
So this guy, you know what? I actually had a thing up about him.
And he comes back
he's
into
like a foreign minister or some shit
I think
like that.
he was too overwhelmed by emotion, and but the happiness in his eyes were very evident.
Well, Sohail Rahman is live for us in New Delhi. So Sohail, relief all over India right now.
Doesn't look like he was mistreated too bad, but it's hard to tell.
Well, I mean, you're coming out from a shot-down jet.
Yes, certainly. It's been much anticipated, certainly for the last 48 hours, that Wing Commander Abhinandan would actually be released. But when was the actual question? We've been waiting for about 6 hours for more news about his transfer. And those very few, 10, 20 steps across the border from Pakistan into India. It was delayed several times, even up to the last minute. But as you saw from those pictures, he was slowly escorted to the border by the lady that you can see in the traditional shalwar kameez. Accompanying him is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and standing next to her, the gentleman in the Air Force uniform is a representative, of course, from the Air Force. They escorted him to
the guy in the Air Force uniform is from the Air Force, so you know.
Basically the commandos who look after the border on the Pakistan side.
They can't comment on the mustache.
Handed over to the Indians.
Well,
he would have been brought across as he was quite late on to be processed at the Wagah border. And there it was assumed that he would be put in charge, or certainly seen by the Red Cross, a neutral body who would have made sure that he was medically fit. And also he was the man that the Indians were looking for, and then they would then escort him across the border and hand him over to Indian officials.
You've heard of handlebar mustaches. That's a pair of Clubmans right there.
Force, and it's assumed
I don't know about that, dude. Those look like
head
I mean, not
towards New
to
Delhi for
trigger
a
the
complete
lefties or
medical
anything,
checkup
but
and
I
a
mean,
debriefing.
if you're a biker,
and
that looks like a pair of ape hangers,
No, my guy, I'm the biker here. See, those are clubmen.
Tensions between India and Pakistan. It all
Clubmen.
began, of course,
Google them. You got to look that up. Those are clubmen.
Pulwama and Indian
Clickety-clack, here we come.
On the Indian
Clickety-clack, what's in the sack?
Forces. Does this release now do something to ease those tensions?
Oh, dude. Holy shit.
I told you.
Weren't kidding.
I told you. They're clubmen.
Well, this has been the question to a certain extent that Pakistan would like.
You gotta put a picture of these up on the screen.
Pakistani
You gotta put a picture of these up on the screen.
Oh, you gotta link me to that.
Hold on. This is perfect. Let me just get this image. Copy image. This is so funny. Just put it up. They have to know.
They have to know. Yeah, that's it. That's it. There it is. There it is. That's what the mustache looks like.
God.
That's what this guy's mustache looks like.
Pakistani or is Indian fighter pilot. That's what kind of facial hair you're allowed to have. I wonder if he just has to keep his chin.
Just like so that the thing will go over it. Probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So you could get a seal. So like they kind of get away with like having that facial hair. I don't know, dude. That is hilarious. That's fucking funny.
I told you, clubmen's, man.
Nice. Hey, man, you know your shit.
The Pakistani Prime Minister, this is a gesture of goodwill, an opportunity
we'll go ahead and
to
skip
ease
the rest of
tensions.
this clip. I think we're good on this.
All right. Well, it's a good story. Glad they got him back.
Yeah, me too. Because that was, I mean, for a couple of days there, it was looking like it was going to break out into war. But I'm glad cooler heads prevailed. That usually seems to be the case anyway.
Thank goodness.
Luckily, we don't have Hillary.
Yep. So, do you guys remember earlier this year we were talking on Need to Know about possibly Netanyahu might be getting indicted for corruption charges?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it's looking like that's probably going to be the case, but I thought, what better way to preload this than to give people a little bit of background on some of Netanyahu's like latest hits. So I found this France 24 video that talks about not only his corruption charges, but the scandal that he got involved in with his kid last year.
Yes, you got this. Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember that, but you should go ahead and play it. It's a minute and a half. It gives us a good rundown. I like it.
Here we go.
This is the best.
Another blow to Bibi's image. With two corruption investigations still underway, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now has another scandal to deal with. This time it's one of the Israeli leader's sons who's making headlines for a 2015 audio recording. In it, Yair Netanyahu talks about strippers, lavish spending, and banters with a friend, the son of a gas tycoon, over money.
Bro, you need to spot me, bro. My dad got your dad a great deal. He fought for it at the Knesset, bro. My father fought for it, I remember. Bro, my dad got you a $25 billion deal, and you can't give me 400 shekels.
Can't even give me 400 shekels.
That's not how the whole line goes. He goes, "You can't give me 400 shekels for the whore." That's what he said.
Oh,
For a whore.
For the whore.
And the snitch was the bodyguard, wasn't it?
It was. It was so good.
Oh, is this him repenting for his sins at the Wailing Wall?
For his pre-Sabbath debauchery. And Prime Minister Netanyahu denied any inside dealings with gas tycoon Kobe Maimon prior to pushing through controversial antitrust legislation.
They're like 16 years old.
Netanyahu also struck back at the provenance of the secret recording. A bodyguard employed by the state is thought to have sold it to Channel 2 News.
What are you doing at a strip club when you're 17 years old there, guy?
Which practices transparency should declare if they bought the tape. And if indeed they bought it, how much was paid for the secret recording?
Bro, what the fuck?
The Netanyahus say they are the victims of a witch hunt. But the latest scandal has created outrage among some Israelis over the millions spent on the first family's security detail.
Witch hunt!
And it further cements for them a sentiment.
All right.
So let's go ahead and run into the CBSN clip. It looks like he's actually get indicted here pretty soon.
Getting indicted.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to be indicted on bribery and fraud charges. If indicted, this will be the first time an Israeli prime minister will face criminal charges. The country's attorney general announced his decision to indict the prime minister today, but all indictments are pending a hearing. Netanyahu's been under investigation for more than 2 years. For more, CBS News correspondent Seth Doane joins us from London. Seth, what more do we know?
Well, we know that at that hearing, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will have a chance to defend himself. That official indictment does not take place until that hearing. We've only heard that that hearing will happen relatively soon, but they did not give us a specific date for that. The entire process will really drag on, could continue on for some number of months. We know that he is facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. There are 3 separate cases here that Netanyahu is facing. One of them, he's accused of providing regulatory concessions to a telecommunications company in exchange for favorable coverage. There is another charge that says that he and his wife Sarah received bribes totaling up to $280,000, bribes of jewelry and cigars in exchange for political favors. And then there is a third charge, third case, where there's a deal for favorable coverage in exchange for legislation that would damage a competing newspaper. So we have just heard the Prime Minister speak. He vehemently defends himself, says that these charges are absolutely not true. At the opening of that statement, he thanked President Trump for his support. He said that these charges are a house of cards that will collapse. He said the charges are a political witch hunt, and as you point out, they are timed. This is all unfolding at a very sensitive time. Israelis will go to the polls on April 9th. Rena?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that timing. You know, the fact the indictment just coming just weeks ahead of an election there. Have you sort of gotten a sense of how it's impacting the race and the candidates?
Well, the real concern is that for the Netanyahu camp is that it could have a huge impact. They're saying that this is fundamentally undemocratic of the Attorney General to bring this indictment at this time because the Netanyahu camp says, listen, Israeli voters will have heard these charges, they will have heard these allegations, but since the political process will not have run its course, he will not yet have the opportunity to defend himself. So Netanyahu saying this political witch hunt, these charges will be hanging out there, and Israelis will not have heard the resolution.
Brought to you by Sennheiser.
You've really seen he's a part of the Likud party.
Deny all corruption on a Sennheiser microphone.
The parties on the far or
please
to the left
sponsor us. I want a new Sennheiser microphone.
Has not moved quickly enough. That he's dragged his feet in bringing about these indictments, where you're hearing completely the opposite, as you might expect from the folks who are supporting Netanyahu, saying that this is moved along quickly to be timed just ahead of this election.
I think we got the news on this one.
Netanyahu did.
All right, so we haven't really talked much about South America. We kind of mentioned that we were going to, give some love to Venezuela this time around.
Pounded your head on the desk?
Yeah, screw it. We'll do clip 15 first. It gives us a kind of a general overview of the current situation. The United States has been applying a lot of pressure on Venezuela to try to get them to, actually accept the legally elected president. Maduro has still failed to give up control, and despite the country being in open revolt and citizens leaving in droves,
eating sheep, whatever they could find on the ground.
I mean, I remember 2 years ago when this shit started, we were watching videos of people stealing chickens off of chicken trucks that had stopped at red lights.
Like Mad Max 1, except instead of gasoline, it's chickens.
Pretty much, man. Food and toilet paper. Those are the things that people are really going after right now.
Well, you gotta wipe your ass.
Oh, dude, seriously. Buy water and clean your ass, everybody.
Buy water, clean the ass.
Buy water, clean ass.
Speaking of, as just an aside, since I was looking at India news, I saw this video that I almost grabbed about the Ganges River. Have you guys seen how dirty that piece of shit is?
No, I haven't, actually.
The country's basically EPA counterpart, the head of which was quoted as saying, if you increase the amount of water in the river will fix its own pollution problem. First off. Okay. Second off, there's literally corpses floating down the river because they believe that if they burn the corpses and set them off into the river, they won't be reincarnated. Thirdly...
That's a dick move.
Thirdly, they also believe that it's normal and sanitary to have all of the local sewage drain into the river. So would you like to hear what their solution is to the problem?
Yes, please.
Live in a van down by that river?
Oh, bro, they're going to breed flesh-eating turtles to deal with the corpse problem.
You're fucking kidding.
Okay, so then these poor people, they're not only not being resurrected, but they're also going to be eaten by turtles.
Well, and on top of that, people go into this river all the time, like, to bathe for ritualistic, like, religious purposes.
Whoa.
So now they're filling it with flesh-eating, like, wildlife.
Flesh-eating turtles.
They're all gonna go in there and get bit by turtles and shit.
What happens when the turtles become a problem? What's going to get rid of the turtles?
Oh, hey, guys, we've got this problem. There's, like, bodies floating in the river. Let's release piranhas. Does that sound like a good idea?
Turtle-eating bears?
So good. It cracked me up so much.
I mean, I guess if you're on a budget, like, fuck.
They've already poured $200 million into the project, and they haven't done anything.
Oh, my God.
Oh, they're still trying to source the right turtles.
Oh, it's so bad, dude. It's so bad. All right, clip 15. Venezuela.
On the way.
Live for us in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, where Maduro is clinging to power while his people starve and deadly violence rocks the country. Steve.
Come on, Steve.
Trace, it certainly is true that Maduro still controls the levers of power here inside Venezuela. He controls the army, he controls the courts, he controls the police. And there really has been a sense of failure on the ground here in efforts to oust Maduro from power. Last Saturday, we heard reports from Juan Guaido, the opposition leader, that he was going to bring in tons of humanitarian aid, that perhaps the military would simply melt away and join him. Neither of those have come true. There have been some military defections, anywhere from 500 to 600 soldiers going over to Guaido, but the humanitarian aid is still largely blocked. The large-scale defections from Maduro have not happened, and when you talk to people on the street in Caracas, there is a sense of disenchantment with this 35-year-old opposition leader. 1 month since he declared himself president, he has not done very much here in Venezuela. Trace?
But, Steve, Juan Guaido is making some moves today, correct?
That's right. He's been in Colombia today. He's in Brazil. He's really trying to ratchet up international pressure on the Maduro regime, but he's got his work cut out for him. He has been banned from traveling outside of the country by the Maduro regime. Now he's got to get himself back into Venezuela without getting arrested. It's not clear whether or not that's going to happen. It seems like there's a lot of really bad options here on the ground in Venezuela. Will the U.S. continue to ratchet up sanctions, driving Maduro from power? That would also hurt the Venezuelan people. Could there be military intervention? That's something the regional powers in South America don't want to happen. The hope was that perhaps, as John Bolton tweeted a while ago, Maduro would simply go away, find himself a nice beach somewhere, that easy path. There's no sign of that happening. Trace?
Yeah, the situation is fluid and violent. Steve Harrigan live for us on the ground in Caracas. Back to you with any breaking news, Steve.
Back to you for any breaking news, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
So, talking about how all this resolution and shit has failed, one of the more dramatic incidents that happened over the last week or so was United States sent a bunch of aid convoys through Colombia and into Venezuela trying to give people food. And Maduro thought it was a good idea to not let people have those in dramatic fashion.
Burn the food!
Yeet!
The 4 trucks carrying U.S. aid were trying to cross the bridge separating Venezuela and Colombia. Then one was set on fire. The opposition said it was set ablaze by the Venezuelan soldiers, but the government says the opposition did it to pin the blame on President Nicolás Maduro. One incident in a day of confusion and violence.
And see, this is a land of
There were
confusion.
clashes between supporters of opposition leader Juan Guaido and security forces. Several people were injured.
What even is that?
Earlier, Venezuelan soldiers commandeered armored personnel carriers and rammed them through their own barricades, which had been set up to prevent the U.S. aid from coming in. 4 soldiers then ran across the border and defected. Guaido watched events from the Colombian side of the border.
This is crazy how many of the Venezuelan security forces are just leaving.
The call on the armed forces is very clear. Welcome to the right side of history. Welcome to those soldiers who today sided with the Constitution.
But it didn't happen. In the capital, Caracas,
we just saw them
Maduro seemed
crossing the border, so
emboldened.
it did actually happen. Just saying.
I can't continue putting up with this. We can't continue putting up with Colombia lending itself to an aggression against Venezuela. That is why I've decided to break all political and diplomatic relations with the fascist government of Colombia. And all its ambassadors and general consuls have to leave Venezuela within 24 hours. Get out of here, oligarchy.
On the border with Brazil, the violence turned deadly as campaigners tried to get aid in. There's fear and anger on both sides,
Says the dictator.
and no clear path to peace.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So, now that we're getting a little bit closer to some good old American news, have you guys? I know you guys have heard that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is basically at the top of every goddamn news headline that involves the Congress. It's kind of irritating. It is what it is. We can't get away from it. But there's been kind of an interesting development with her. She's basically telling her colleagues that if they vote Republican, she's going to try to primary them out of their seats. So she's trying to make a blacklist of all of her Democratic colleagues that are moderates, that won't always vote Democratic.
What a dick!
Yep.
The dick move right there.
Totally is. So let's watch Karl Rove call her a bully.
All right, she's making a list. In case you didn't know it, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez threatening to compile the names of moderate Democrats who vote with Republicans. This is according to a new report in the Washington Post. Joining me now to discuss this is Karl Rove, former senior advisor for President George W. Bush, and a Fox News contributor. I need to pick your political brain here, Karl, because I can't decide how this story is going to go. Is she in control of what's going on with the Democrats as she continues to push out here further? Or are they going to kind of come in and rise up and try and, as she makes this list of people she's going to primary, are they going to send someone her way to try and get her back in line? What do you think happens within the Democratic Party?
Well, I think nothing good comes of this. She's acting like a bully. She's not, freshman. She's a freshman member who hasn't demonstrated that she's got the ability to raise money and direct political activity in a certain way.
Wasn't it
by a group
Obama that got called out for using a quote-unquote bully
sort of
pulpit?
A far-left movement inside the Democratic Party, and they will back challengers in some instances. But look, the nature of the districts that we're talking about here, 32 seats.
See how this goes. I love how there's a bunch
Democrats
of fucking
that were
pictures on the wall that says
by
no
Republican members
cameras.
of the House, and those districts were won by Donald
video
Trump.
of her.
And my sense is even the Democratic Party in those districts is going to tend to be a little bit more to the middle than Ocasio-Cortez's district. If you look at it last year, virtually every one of these people is a moderate who, and in many instances, they beat somebody further to the left of them in the Democratic primary. I think this is going to end up being a hollow threat that's going to hurt her ability to lead, and is going to be further evidence of the disruption inside the Democratic Party.
When you look at what's going on with her, the people who dislike her the most are the moderate Democrats. Much more Republicans have a fun time with her.
Do they even have a party anymore?
What's going on with
progressives
her
love her.
It's the moderate Democrats who are really upset about the
Yeah,
attention
she
she's
kinda went
getting
a
and the
little
like.
overboard with that makeup.
But
Just glad to see you.
they're dismissing her in a way, and when they say she has sort of no leadership, no infrastructure, she only got 15,000 votes. It
Occasional
reminds me
cortex
of
is my
President
favorite
Trump
nickname.
when he got out there and Republicans dismissed him.
Every time I go to
and
look
said he
for her on
wasn't part of
YouTube,
the
that's what
party,
comes
and
up
it
first.
feels like kind of the same tension. And they said he had no grassroots organization. He was going to go. He may be winning these popularity polls, but that's not the Electoral College. He doesn't know how to do it. And then he won she's not going to back down. You know, how do they finally come to terms with her? Are they able to get rid of her, or does she?
No, I don't think they're. Look, they're not going to knock her out in her district. My point is that she's unlikely to knock them out in theirs. Now, we won't know for a year or so. You may be right. She may be sui generis, just like the president is, a unique political figure.
Just scrap it and
comes out
start
of nowhere
over.
at the age of 29 and then sweeps the field in front of her, smashing more centrist-minded Democrats left and right. But I don't think so. I think she is just striking out at people, trying to threaten them, coming across as a little bit of a bully.
Yeah.
And a year from now, unless she delivers on this, unless she has taken a couple of these people out and clearly played a role, people are going to say, you know what, she came here, she talked a big game, but she wasn't able to follow through on it. I'm not afraid of her anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
no, she
you're
does
not going to
seem
on
like
CNN
a bully
anytime
in this instance, especially. And there's that fine line between, are you a
Which
bully?
one has Karl
or
Rove
are
been
you
on CNN?
Promoting unity within your party and keeping everyone together, or are you a bully and you're browbeating them? Karl Rove, yeah, go ahead. Final thought. Go ahead.
Anybody who says I'm the boss
that's
and
the
talks
answer.
about making lists always makes me think that they're a little bit taken with themselves.
Yeah. Or.
Good man. Well,
she's getting back to her communist roots. That's kind of how it goes. So, we've been talking a little bit about Andrew McCabe. You know, this whole Comey, Rod Rosenstein nonsense about getting rid of the president. Did you guys hear about the 25th Amendment talk?
Oh, yeah. You mean the coup?
Yes, sir.
Just call it what it is, a coup.
Yep, soft coup. I think.
Say that here. It's a coup. Soft coup, but it's a coup nonetheless.
Coup. Yeah, it's a short clip, but we should hear it in his own words, honestly. It's kind of funny how he slow rolls it and tries to couch it, but they definitely did talk about the 25th Amendment and trying to use the cabinet to get rid of the president.
Jumping on it.
But McCabe says Rosenstein raised another idea. The 25th Amendment to the Constitution allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to remove the president.
A discussion of the 25th Amendment was simply Rod raised the issue and discussed it with me in the context of thinking about how many other cabinet officials might support such an effort. I didn't have much to contribute, to be perfectly honest, in that conversation, so I listened to what he had to say. But to be fair, it was an unbelievably stressful time. I can't even describe for you how many things must have been coursing through the Deputy Attorney General's mind at that point.
Well, he has contacts on.
It was really something that
for those
he kind of
special
threw out
occasions.
in a very frenzied, chaotic conversation about where we were and what we needed to do next.
What seemed to be coursing through the mind of the Deputy Attorney General was getting rid of the President of the United States.
Well,
one way or another.
I can't confirm that, but what I can say is the Deputy Attorney General was definitely very concerned about the president, about his capacity, and about his intent at that point in time.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
How did he bring up the idea of the 25th Amendment to you?
He wants to keep doing it.
Honestly, I don't remember. It was just another kind of topic that he jumped to in the midst of a wide-ranging conversation.
Seriously? Just another topic?
Yeah.
Did you counsel him on that?
I didn't. I mean, he was discussing other cabinet members and whether or not people would support such an idea, whether or not other cabinet members would shared his belief that the president was
basically
really
a coup.
concerning Rod at that time.
Rosenstein was actually openly talking about whether there was a majority of the cabinet who would vote to remove the president.
That's correct. Counting votes or possible votes.
So a coup.
Did he assign specific votes to specific people?
No, not that I recall.
As you're sitting in this meeting in the Justice Department talking about removing the President of the United States, you were thinking what?
How did I get here? Confronting these confounding legal issues of such immense importance, not just to the FBI, but to the entire country. It was disorienting.
How can we pull off a coup?
Pretty much, my guy. All right, so the Cohen hearing that was this week. We're not going to watch this full CNN clip.
Mostly, tell me it's Jim Jordan, bro. Tell me it's Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan's coming after, my guy. But first, we gotta watch the illustrious Eric Swalwell tell us what he knows about the Cohen hearing. It's gonna be amazing. Actually, he is of the I'm gonna nuke my own citizens if they declare civil war fame. In fact, might actually be a good time for you to pull up that article, my friend.
Oh, well, should we get to this clip first, or?
Yeah, go ahead and play the clip, and then we can talk about the article a little bit, get into this Michael Cohen shit. The Jim Jordan shit is going to be kind of long.
All right, let's see.
Everybody stand by. I want to bring in a key member
of
the Intelligence Committee right now, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of California. He just emerged from that all-day closed-door hearing with Michael Cohen. Congressman, thanks for joining us. Did you learn anything new from Michael Cohen's testimony today?
Oh boy, Wolf, that would be an understatement. We learned a lot of new things. I can't go into them. We're still interviewing him. He's coming back next week. But there's very valuable new leads.
We aired it on national TV, but we can't talk about it.
To corroborate what he's told us. But we did find him to be cooperative and answered every question we asked.
So beyond what he said yesterday during the public hearing before the House Oversight Committee, you're suggesting that additional new information was released, very important, critical information. Is that right?
Yes, Wolf.
Did his testimony today behind closed doors, and I know you're restricted in what you can say until they release the transcript, and Adam Schiff says at one point they will release the transcript. Did he give your committee new reason to go ahead and subpoena additional witnesses in the investigation?
We certainly have learned about additional relevant witnesses, and that includes what we heard yesterday on the Oversight Committee. And I think this is really also a matter of, the different committees of jurisdiction sorting out, which one will take up which witness. But I found him, Wolf, I have to say, different than when we interviewed him back in October 2017. There was just more of a carefulness to his presentation today. He did not want, to say anything that could be misleading or inaccurate. I didn't see him demonstrate that concern when he testified in October 2017. And I also. When he perjured himself before the Congress, he also now has a sword of Damocles, if you will, hanging over his head, in that he has seen that Paul Manafort went from being a cooperative witness with the government to lying during that cooperation agreement, and now faces 19 to 24 years in prison. I just got the sense, because Michael Cohen seems very concerned about his family, he does not want to touch that same hot stove.
Can you tell us what kind of documents you'd like to get? That you want him to bring to your committee next time?
We can go ahead and cut this off.
I wish I could.
He has no information. They brought him in. They ask him questions. He says nothing. Then they go, "Oh, how does this relate to the other Trump stuff?" It doesn't really, but hey, it kind of does. It's ridiculous.
I'm just gonna talk shit about it either way. So let's fucking throw shade. Jump on.
Just keep throwing shade.
The reason I love finding clips about this guy is because he's literally the guy that on Twitter was like, I love this exchange. It was so good. Guy comes out and he talks to Eric Swalwell, he's an American citizen, right? He's like, if you guys try to take our guns, you're going to wind up with a civil war. And Rep Swalwell's response was, well, you got guns, we got nukes. So I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that piece of shit.
It's just, wow, amazing. Speaking of civil war.
Speaking of
we've got an article here from the Washington Post. Came out today, titled, "In America, Talk Turns to Something Unspoken for 150 Years, Civil War." I'm just going to read the first paragraph here for you. At a moment when the country has never seemed angrier, the two political commentators from opposite sides of the divide concurred last week on one point, nearly unthinkable until recently. The country is on the verge of civil war. The fuck? Okay? Seriously, first off, this entire article, all it's doing is just trying to push that thought of civil war out there into people's minds. That this crap that they're reading on the internet, that all this shit that's fake news, it is basically fake news.
N-word stuff.
That it's all freaking real, that your neighbor's taking up arms against you, and that shit's about to hit the fan, basically. So basically, these once prominent outlets that were My God, it's the freaking Washington Post, for crying out loud. They're basically lowering themselves to the level of conspiracy theorists and saying that, yeah, we're on the verge of a freaking civil war. I don't know about you guys, but I think I get along pretty well with my neighbors. What about you guys?
Oh yeah, my neighbors are great. I actually I live in kind of a ghetto area, but they don't take my packages when they come to my door, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we have good neighbors, and
that's a pretty good way to gauge shit.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, if you can get a package delivered when you're not at home, you got pretty decent neighbors. Just saying.
Basically, if you hear anybody talking about civil war is brewing, it's not. It's not, okay? That is not how it happens. That is not how it works.
You are trying to brew it. The person saying that is the brewer.
The brewer.
Brewer's yeast. All right, so now that we've passed our brief interlude, Jim Jordan has a different take on the Cohen hearings. Much less than fuckface McGee over there.
Oh, dude. Oh, my God. Look at him. He does look like a fuckface, doesn't
he? He does. Oh, my God. Yeah, him and Wolf Blitzer. What a pair.
Oh, yeah.
God.
All right, let's see what Jim Jordan has to say, huh?
Yeet.
The first announced witness for the 116th Congress is a guy who is going to prison in 2 months for lying to Congress.
Lying to Congress.
But the Democrats don't care. They don't care. They just want to use you, Mr. Cohen. You're their patsy today. You wanted to work in the White House.
No,
you
sir.
You didn't get brought to the dance.
Sir.
His remorse is non-existent.
Damn.
He's debated a member of Congress saying, I really didn't do anything wrong with the false bank things that I'm guilty of and going to prison for.
Mr. Jordan, that's not what I said, and you know that's not what I said.
What
I said, shame on you, Mr. Jordan.
Ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan, grilling Michael Cohen during that explosive hearing on Capitol Hill. And today he is going a step further, sending Attorney General William Barr an extensive 30-page letter that is calling on the Department of Justice to investigate Cohen for perjury. Here now, Republican Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio, the ranking member of the Oversight Committee. Sir, good to have you with us tonight. Explain to me exactly what you want the Department of Justice to investigate about what happened yesterday.
Guy's got a little gray on him these days.
Martha, we think there are at least 6 occasions where, in yesterday's testimony, where Mr. Cohen said things that were not accurate. The biggest one, of course, is the fact that he denied that he ever wanted to work at the White House. He's on tape saying if offered a job at the White House, he'd take it 100%.
What difference does that make if he's embarrassed about it and he doesn't want to admit that he wanted a job?
You're not supposed to say things that are not true in front of a congressional committee, particularly when you're the first announced witness of this Congress, and in 2 months you're going to prison for lying to Congress, and then you come in front of Congress, and guess what? You don't tell the truth? That is not supposed to be how it operates. So that's the concern. There are other issues we spell out in the letter.
Well, I'm already
the idea that he didn't register as a lobbyist when
we'll go in deep.
Companies you're representing, one from Kazakhstan, one from Korea, a whole host of things that we think are important. Remember, when a witness is coming in and saying the kind of things that Mr. Cohen is saying, any witness, credibility is always an issue. And this is a guy who is going to prison in 2 months for 4 distinct federal crimes, one of which, of course, is, as I said, lying to Congress, and he did it again yesterday.
All right, here's Adam Schiff. He believes that he actually bolstered his credibility yesterday. Listen to this.
Schiff.
Well, look, there's no question that any witness coming before Congress who has a history where they have been dishonest with Congress comes in with a credibility problem.
Lizard people, guys.
Lizard what people. He said today, I think, bolstered his credibility. When people want to make things up, they don't generally do it in a half fashion.
What do you think about that?
Not Mr. Schiff. Well, not Mr. Schiff, but Mr. Cohen. He said that he started the Trump campaign for president with some website he filed. So I mean, come on, how do you trust anything he says when he has said things like that? Like the reason that Donald Trump ran for president because I formed a website back in 2011. And again, he doubled down on that in the course of his testimony yesterday, just like he doubled down on the fact that he never wanted to work in the White House.
Do you think on those issues that you're bringing up that the Department of Justice is really going to pursue that they're going to move further in terms of accusations that he lied in front of Congress yesterday?
He's going to show up like Beetlejuice.
That's a question for Bill Barr in the Justice Department. That's the Attorney General's call. All I know is there were so many inconsistencies. On one hand, Michael Cohen said that he was the president's personal attorney, and yet he wasn't the president's personal attorney. He wasn't on a retainer, and yet he was getting reimbursed for something else. Back and forth. He didn't want to work in the White House because he had his dream job, but he wanted to work in the White House. I don't know what to believe, because it's tough to believe a guy who has this record of telling lies in the past, and specifically to the United States Congress.
I want to read from one of his sound bites from yesterday, saying that the president did not directly tell him to lie. Watch this.
Mr. Trump did not directly tell me to lie to Congress. That's not how he operates. In conversations we had during the campaign, at the same time, I was actively negotiating in Russia for him. He would look me in the eye.
Oh, do you have a plane ticket for that Russian trip?
And then go on to lie to the American people.
Oh, it's so good.
The same.
Did you ever go to Prague?
In his way,
no,
he was telling me to lie.
So it's interesting looking at the coverage of that moment, because you look in some places and it says, you know, he didn't directly tell him to lie. End of story. Other takes on what happened yesterday say that he said he clearly did tell him to lie, and that was the way that he communicated with him.
You know why you can have both takes? Because Michael Cohen said things, which again just goes to the point. Mr. Trump didn't direct me to lie, but he told me to lie. Which one is it, Michael Cohen? I didn't want to be his personal lawyer, but that was my dream job. I didn't want to work in the White House, but if I was offered a job in the White House, I'd take it 100%. I mean, this is the point. This is the point. He's going to prison for lying to Congress. He comes in front of Congress and says he didn't lie, but we have 6 different instances where he said something that was not accurate. So that's the whole point, and that's what we're trying to get across, and that's why Mr. Meadows and I sent the letter to the Attorney General today.
What about the Democrats' response to what happened yesterday and the push for impeachment? You know, do you think they're going to pursue that?
He's pulling our chains.
Polls, the American people seem to not be. The majority of American people seem to not be in favor of pursuing that. But Carolyn Maloney, representative, came out today and said that she thought that the groundwork was there now.
Well, they're going to do it. It's a crazy plan that they have, but they're going to do it. It is no accident that Tom Steyer was in New York last week organizing a town hall in Chairman Nadler's district, and this week was in Baltimore organizing a town hall in Chairman Cummings' district. All they can do is throw shade. Tom Steyer, mega donor for the Democrats, they are going to do it. That's how radical they have become. So I think this was the step one, and this is the best witness they had. The guy they brought in to start their whole plan to move on their crazy impeachment process. I feel like the Democrats are on billionaire hunt right now. Was Michael Cohen, as I said, a guy who was going to prison for lying to Congress when he was brought in front of Congress yesterday.
For their presidential run. They can't find anybody that can beat Donald Trump, so now they're like, let's find a Democratic version of him.
Oh, yeah,
this was
I saw that.
put out there today by one of the reporters, writers at the Atlantic, Edward Isaac DeVore, who said that the controversial tweet that Matt Gaetz sent out, where he
the Matt Gaetz thing is kind of unrelated. Someone supposedly thinks that Matt Gaetz threatened Cohen, but that's not really the case. I actually, I'm so upset. My state governor, Jay Inslee, has decided that he's going to run for president.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness. God. At least you don't have fucking Romney, bro.
Oh, God, don't even remind me about Romney. That guy's a cocksucker.
Dude, he's my fucking state fucking piece of shit.
Safe and sound under the Zodiac killer.
Oof. Isn't he one of those guys that was no, he's a senator, isn't he?
Which one?
Yeah, he was.
Romney?
Yeah, now he is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Governor.
Wait, Romney's not the governor.
I mean, fucking goddamn it, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's the senator. He's a senator.
Did I fucking mess that up in my head?
Maybe a little bit, but it's all good. Okay, so I got one more clip on this Cohen shit. Tucker did a couple segments about it, but I like this one the best, mostly because, he shits on BuzzFeed a lot, so it makes me happy.
Perfect, Bundu. That's all you need. Tuckerson coming up.
A lot going on Capitol Hill today. The circus came to town. The president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, testified for most of the daylight hours. Everybody carried it. You probably heard snippets in the Uber on the way to work. You've got a real job. So we watched every moment because we're paid to do that. And most of the day was devoted to the question of Trump's personal character. Now, people in Washington never tire of being shocked by what an incredibly bad man Donald Trump is. They're incredibly good people, and they can just hardly believe his flaws. They sat open-mouthed in the Congress today as Michael Cohen described his former boss, brace yourselves now, as a bit of a con man who has at times overstated his personal wealth. In private, Trump apparently has said offensive things. At one
it's almost
point,
like we
Michael
went over
Cohen
this in
claims
2015.
Trump used a straw buyer to bid up a portrait of himself at a charity auction. He wanted his picture to go for the highest price.
You know, that was
Are you
that's what I was
shocked
thinking
yet?
about this whole
Can
time.
you
That was the
believe
most
it?
damaging thing to Trump the
Of course you can.
entire
This is
time.
exactly
has
the
been
man we
grabbing
knew
by the
back in
pussy.
2015 when he
Grab him by the
descended the famous
pussy.
escalator. And
I
yet
said,
millions of
grab him
people
by the
voted for
pussy.
him anyway.
Reach down,
His character was
grab him
not
by
the
the
point.
pussy.
The point of today's hearings was not his character either. It was supposed to be Russian collusion and obstruction of justice. Those are the topics that have completely derailed the American government for the past
Pussycat,
2
by the
years.
way.
And on those subjects, we actually did learn quite a bit
wanted to
today.
clarify
Here's one
that.
example. About a month ago, the cat blog BuzzFeed ran an article that claimed Trump
Cat
had
blog.
ordered Michael Cohen to lie to the Congress. That's a big deal. It's a crime. And so immediately the
It gets
hysterics in the
better.
Congress and on cable news went bonkers. Impeachment! Indictment! Life in prison! But did that actually happen? Well, since Cohen was there in person, he was able to conclusively answer that question today, and he did. Watch.
Mr. Cohen, you stood before multiple congressional committees before today.
This is amazing.
And raised your right hand and swore an oath to be
Great
honest. Is that
supercut.
correct?
That is correct.
And you lied to those congressional committees. Is that correct?
Previously?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
You stated that Trump never directed you to lie to Congress. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it looks like Trump will not be going to jail for suborning perjury after all. Darn, foiled again. Look for a retraction in your latest edition of BuzzFeed. You'll find it just below the 15 cats that look like Ruth Bader Ginsburg listicle. Look carefully. But what about Russian blackmail? You've been hearing about that.
Funny because he's
for years.
referencing
Trump,
things on the
they have told
internet.
you again and again, has somehow been compromised by the Russians. And that's why he's been spying for them. Putin has something horrible and incriminating on Donald Trump. He must. A picture of the president in a Batman costume, maybe. Or a videotape with hookers doing something weird. Certainly Michael Cohen would know about that kind of thing. That's his world. Luckily, a sitting member of Congress asked Cohen about it directly today. Watch.
Are you aware of anything that the president has done at home or abroad that may have subjected him to or may subject him to extortion or blackmail?
I am not, no.
Okay. Are you aware of any videotapes that may be the subject of extortion or blackmail?
I've heard about these tapes for a long time. I've had many people contact me over the years. I have no reason to believe that that tape exists.
Oh! The great Jamie Raskin of suburban Maryland, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Mr. Raskin, for clearing that up. So the P-tape is not real. There goes the juiciest part of the Trump dossier, which you'll remember was yet another highly publicized scoop from, yes, BuzzFeed.
The P-tape has been debunked.
Cat videos.
Fully.
But wait. What about the trip to Prague that Michael Cohen supposedly took? That was part of his collusion with the dark forces of the Russian Empire. That was in the dossier as well. BuzzFeed told us about it. Surely Cohen would admit it now. He's heading to prison. He's got nothing to lose. Well, Cohen was asked about that Prague trip today, and here's what he said.
Have you ever been to Prague?
I've never been to Prague.
Never have.
I've never been to the Czech Republic.
You might bounce my time.
I'm done.
This is where it gets confusing.
Got what I needed.
Prague.
Later,
This
gentlemen.
is the point at which what they call the narrative starts to break down a little bit.
There's
If
no
Michael
narrative
Cohen never
anymore.
went to
It's
Prague,
over.
As BuzzFeed and Adam Schiff and the entire primetime lineup of MSNBC have told us repeatedly that he did, then how exactly did Michael Cohen collude with the Russians to steal the 2016 presidential election from its rightful winner, Hillary Clinton? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida, as incisive an interviewer as the Democrats have, wondered that too. Here's the exchange.
She's an ugly
Based
one.
on what you know,
Check this out.
would
Top
Mr.
ramen
Trump
head.
or did
Cocker
he
Spaniel.
lie about colluding?
Dude, she reminds me
and
of Mega
coordinating with the
Streisand from the
Russians at any
South
point
Park episode.
during
Jesus.
So as I stated in my testimony,
She looks like a goblin that got
I wouldn't
cooked
use the
top
word
ramen poured on her head.
Right, dude. Like, what?
Was there something odd?
She's like, I want to
about
have my hair long, but I
back
also
and
want to
forth
perm.
praise with President Putin? Yes, but I'm not really sure that I can answer that question in terms of collusion.
Oh, wait, so there's no collusion, There's no Russian blackmail. There's no obstruction of justice. There are none of the things that our entire media class has spent the last 2 years huffing and speculating wildly about. Keep in mind that Michael Cohen is Trump's personal lawyer of 10 years. He now hates Donald Trump and would like to destroy him. He has said that again and again. If Michael Cohen had the dime, he would drop it. But he doesn't. There is nothing there. It was all a lie. Can we go home now? Nope. We've got 2 more days of stuff just like this. 2 more days of exchanges like this one, where members of Congress feel that they're not only dumber than you thought they were, but they're a lot creepier.
Here we go.
Can he be blackmailed because of his financial and business ventures, including by foreign governments?
Is there a love child?
There is not, to the best of my knowledge.
Do you have any knowledge of President Trump abusing any controlled substances?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Do you have any knowledge of President Trump arranging any health care
This is what it looks like to grasp at straws, everybody.
I'm not aware of that, no.
Wait, what?
This is
there a love child? Is he a dopehead? Did he pay for abortions? No.
Yeah, the last guy was like, has he scheduled any medical procedures for women that are not his wife?
Will affirm that. He's in his 50s now, and he's headed to prison.
We need something to hit the guy on, guys. Anything. Start asking questions.
In Washington 2 years ago, anticipating that he'd be the kind of guy, the kind of mover and shaker who'd be welcome at any restaurant in town. Part the seas for Michael Cohen. Now he's going to be eating sloppy joes off a metal tray with 1,000 other creeps in identical polyester uniforms in the lockup. So take the politics out of it for a minute if you can. Let's be honest, this is a sad story. Michael Cohen is a broken and desperate man, but nobody cares. Democrats cheered for his conviction on ludicrous, absurd campaign finance charges, as if paying off somebody's girlfriend is a campaign finance violation. It's laughable, but they don't care. Now they're squeezing whatever use they can out of Michael Cohen as he shuffles off to his cell. What do the rest of us get out of this? We learn that Trump is vain and vulgar. Okay. What do we do with that information? Is it supposed to make us support open borders, late-term abortion, the war in Syria, the Green New Deal? Will it make the drug epidemic go away? Will it make the suicide rate drop? Will it make housing affordable in the cities?
Suicide now from Kool-Aid.
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with anything. And that is exactly the point of it. That's what's going on forever. The more time they waste yelping about Trump's charity auction scam and his naughty language in private, the less time they have to explain why they've run this country into the ground and gotten rich doing it. This is a distraction, and we are falling for it, for the record.
Very nice.
I really like that Tucker clip. I thought we could not do the show without it, to be honest.
Of course. We always have to have Tucker.
That was great.
So, I have 2 more clips. Let's play the last one first, because the number 22 is actually pretty hilarious. So we'll play 23 and then we'll play 22. So 23 is actually kind of a development on the 9/11 lawsuit. Families went back to court, I think, today, actually.
Isn't George Webb involved in that?
I don't know entirely if he is or not. But Al Jazeera has a clip on it, and I thought it'd be interesting to get the Saudis' opinion. Isn't Al Jazeera out of Qatar, though?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. All right, we should be good. Let's watch it.
They came to court to demand the Saudi government cough up more information, specific documents that survivors of the attacks of September 11th,
23 pages?
Believe will shed new light on the hijackers responsible for the deaths of nearly 3,000 people. 15 of the 19 were Saudi citizens.
We filed our lawsuits because beyond wanting justice for the murder of our loved ones, we want the truth, and we want the truth to be told to the world. We want everyone to understand the role that the Saudis played in financing and aiding and abetting the 19 hijackers.
Their attorneys presented new evidence, suggesting that the Saudis have not shared all pertinent information about these 2 men, Fahad al-Thumairi and Omar al-Bayoumi, Saudis on their government's payroll who were living in Southern California and helped 2 of the hijackers find a place to stay there.
Southern California.
Plaintiffs have long argued the hijackers would not have been successful in their mission without government assistance.
They can't explain the true nature of the work of Thumairi and Bayoumi in the United States during that time period. They don't want to talk about it. And so when we ask questions about what they're really doing here, they don't have an explanation. It still hasn't been really explained, and it certainly hasn't been documented.
Lawyers for the Saudis say they've turned over all the documents they could find, and the allegations against the kingdom are baseless.
Today's court proceedings were to convince the judge to compel the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to produce more documentary evidence, more information about its 2 employees in the United States and to whom they were answering back home. A written decision is expected from the judge in the coming days. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, New York.
Boom. Well, I just thought that was kind of interesting to pick up, just because it's, you know, relevant and new.
Extremely.
We got one last video, and I thought we should end on kind of a funny note. We don't normally have Ben Shapiro on this show.
But we do now!
Oh, there was a really good clip that came out of the Daily Wire. I will say this very quickly. If you can't handle blood, look away. With that,
there is a woman who has now smeared herself with menstrual blood, saying that she wanted to show that periods are both beautiful and powerful. First of all, super transphobic. What about women who don't have periods? And what about men who do have periods? Has anyone thought of those people? Second of all, this look worked way better in Braveheart. Worked way better in Braveheart.
Oh my
also,
God.
I don't think that those words mean what she thinks they mean. Beautiful and powerful. Now, I'm just going to put this out there.
Cringy and
bodily
nasty.
fluids, not the best. Just no matter from which orifice. Bodily fluids, smearing them on yourself. Not great. Not great, Bob. So not sure why exactly why somebody would do this, unless they're a crazy person. Well, this person is a crazy person. Her name is Demetra Nix, 26, although I don't want to assume her sex because obviously we can't do that anymore. She's a sex coach. So I get maybe that's what this is. Maybe this was like maybe it is a Braveheart motivational tactic. She's a sex coach, so she smears herself with menstrual blood, and then she's like, "Do it now, own it."
Oh my
So
God,
she's trying to end the stigma and shame around periods. All she is succeeding in doing is having people back away slowly into the bushes like Homer Simpson. She says that she regularly
he referenced something from the internet. Huh.
She lives in L.A., California, because my city is intensely stupid. She had her first period age 12, just like most young women, I know, shocking, but was ashamed of it and thought it was disgusting. She would try and hide her period from boyfriends, worried about bleeding through her clothes.
Yeah,
well, first of all, shouldn't we all be worried about bleeding through our clothes from wherever? Like, that's not sanitary, as a general rule. She said, I was simultaneously embarrassed and fascinated by my period. I felt apologetic about it a lot and tried to hide it from boyfriends. Our society teaches us that periods are dirty and inconvenient.
I think this is officially
well, they're not clean and inconvenient from what I hear from women.
It's hit that point.
I've never heard a woman who was like, you know what? My period came, it was so clean and so convenient for me. It was just great. Ads about menstrual products talk about smelling fresh or making us cleaner, implying that our body's natural functions are gross. If she doesn't think our body's natural functions are gross, she should smear poop on herself and walk around. Like really,
smear mud on your ass.
His diaper change, you know what I say to him? It's time to change your diaper because you have
water, clean your ass.
I know.
Water.
Deep thoughts
Clean the
here
ass.
on a Thursday. But we have reduced adults to dumber than our smallest children. There are very few parents who've never had the experience of walking in to a room and seeing your child with their diaper around their ankles, looking at their own poop. And you thought, wow, that's a dumb thing because kids are dumb. When you're in your mid-20s and you're still doing this, with the stuff coming out of your body, let me suggest that you may have a problem larger than the societal feelings about periods. Unbelievable. And again, supremely transphobic. Really, really transphobic and terrible. Very cisgender. Alrighty. I have to stop there because I need to go vomit.
Oh boy. Oh my God. Oh,
good
man.
ones this week. I don't know what to tell you.
Very good ones, man. Very good ones.
Can we play that Russian barge one more time with the national anthem? I gotta see it one more time.
Okay, give me a sec. Let me load it up.
Oh my God. This is so good. I'm so glad I found that. We'll just close on this.
Thank you all for joining us today for Sublime News. will be here next week, probably around the same time. Special shout out to Solid MAGA for finding this for us. Special shout out to Sentry for being awesome. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Be sure to like us, subscribe, all that good stuff. All of that. And of course, you gotta buy water. Buy water. Wash that ass. Buy water.
Yeah, you better wash it.
Oh,
going like, man, whatever, dude.
I know, dude.